Hey guys, it's your humble host, or kid if you prefer, so I'm back with another video, rather interesting one. This is my third time doing this because I want to keep it as organized as I can. So this is another video about going into the security field because I feel like this is really important. You're either going to learn this the hard way because you're going to be put in a bad situation if you do not learn to pick up the signs and red flags, or you're thankfully going to get ahead of the situation and eventually leave the company, if not the day of finding out about the situation. So, a few things. It is very important when you're looking for the right security company, and sometimes you have to continuously bounce around until you find the right one because there are some, or actually a lot of security companies that are just shit. So, from my experience, because I have about like a year now worth of security, I'm going to read a review, and I have never done this before. My review is hidden on this particular property that I used to patrol underneath my previous security company. They have hidden my review, and at first I thought it was Google messing up until I went under my YouTube bot channel just to see what was going on. And apparently, I can't even read the previous reviews of said property. And because the management, not all managers of this particular property, but the ones running the place are absolute shitheads. I'm going to be reading my review because I did copy and paste it on a document, and then I will be showing you photos, and then we'll be looking at articles. And there's going to be a few links in the description. There's going to be an Instagram account, there's going to be a few Reddit links, and there's going to be an article. Because I am not the first YouTuber to have an issue with this property. I do not live at this property. Nor shall I ever. I don't encourage anyone else to do so either. Something I will say when reading this review, I'm going to leave out 3 names. My previous security company, the new security company, and the third-party company that helps run the desk at night. I don't want these people harassed. I don't want the people named in the review harassed. But I encourage everyone from new tenants to new security companies to avoid this property like the fucking plague, because the city of Denver did have to get involved and force them to fix their shit. So, I'm going to read this. There's really nothing to see on the screen at the moment, so if you just want to click away and just hear me, that's fine. I used to patrol this property for the previous security company. Also, just for clarification, I'm not with this previous security company anymore. Anyway, there was a myriad of problems that my former security company had to deal with, but they let the terms of the contract between them and this property deteriorate, causing some of these problems. Now, I will say, because I made a stink with my previous security company, that they did up the contract price, which eventually caused this property to kick my previous security company. But in my opinion, we should have been pulled out of there. We should have not have been made to patrol for 2 more weekends. No. But that is another thing. When you have a security company that is desperate to hold onto a contract, regardless of the post orders, whether or not they're compromising or not for the guards, you're working for a bad security company. One of the other security companies I interviewed for, I ran this scenario by them in regards to the Grand, which you can see in the title, the Not So Grand. The interviewer looked at me wide-eyed when I told them the situation, and they go, "Oh no, we drop those contracts if we get kicked out, if we no longer have access to the security cameras," which you'll hear about in this review. So, let's continue on. Everyone is already familiar with the Not So Grand Instagram account, I'm sure, along with the articles of the city of Denver forcing management to do much-needed repairs. Here's the issue. My previous security company was kicked out from behind the desk, which meant they lost access to the security cameras, on top of not being able to put in official reports of when members of a third-party company were falling asleep at the desk. That particular employee had been removed before my previous security company's remaining days at the Grand were finished. This property has a serious security issue and won't let their contracted security companies do their full jobs or communicate when the key fobs go missing. Between May 15th, 2022 and May 21st of 2022, I was told that 10 key fobs went missing without any explanation why. No one apparently knew anything. But it was alleged that an employee from the third-party company was seen giving key fobs out to random people. I do believe I was the only guard who knew about this and was told after there was a security breach for floors 22 through 24 on May 20th through 21st, 2022, and these floors were under construction. Someone had gotten upstairs and spooked the firewatch guards of the new security company. There is evidence of someone screwing around up there and even leaving loose tobacco in one of the unwrapped toilets. For a full week, the entire property was compromised. I will say that I do appreciate the conversations that I had with managers Daniel and Dwayne, who thanked me for my hard work, as well as filling me in on some things that my own supervisors didn't know or didn't bother to pass along. Elliot from Greystar was also an open channel for communication, to which I found out some things from him as well. In a nutshell, don't expect the Grand to keep their property fully secure, nor their contracted security company to have full control that they need in order to keep their premises completely safe. I pity the new security company that has signed on with them. If more key fobs go missing due to management or third-party staff, don't expect the new security company to know about it either. Elliot from Greystar was quick to fix that as soon as he found out about it. I will say that the third-party company themselves had expressed issues with the Grand too, with not having full access to the security cameras at one point either. This property is a legit mess. I don't advise people come and live here nor future security companies to get in contract with these guys. It's just bad news. And don't get me started at the Chestnut Pavilion, or with the Chestnut Pavilion that is literally right next to the Southern Building in 1707. I say this as a former security guard with previous security company who I'm no longer with, and someone who has looked into the Grand shenanigans. Avoid this place like the plague. And as you can see from the photos, which I will show you real quick, I went up there with the new security company, Firewatch Guard, when it happened. No, this was not the new security company screwing around, nor was it done by the construction company that was in charge of renovations. Someone had gotten up there and was unwrapping toilets and not flushing them so they could stay hidden. Now, something I will say, because my former security company actually dealt with I want to say the Firewatch for like the first week. And usually with those, if you've done Firewatch for construction sites or for floors under the construction, everything stays wrapped. Yes, this is the individual who fell asleep at the desk. So somebody had gotten up there because of the Grand's fuckery, and not allowing my previous security company to do their jobs in full. I had gotten up there and began to unwrap the toilets, try to stay hidden, punctured holes in a lot of the wrappings, and they tried to find a way out. Now, when I went up there, you probably can't see that, and I'm probably not going to show that on screen because that has human waste in the toilet, so that's kind of gross. But somebody had gotten up there and spooked the new security company that took over the Firewatch, and it was actually to a point to where this is how bad the situation was, and it could have gotten worse. Is we had to get PD up there, and when me and the other security company were kind of moving around the floor because it was just the two of us, they had expressed that they kept hearing somebody move around because not all of these walls were sealed. Now, what's bad is once PD swept through with me and the other security company, we left. Somebody else, the same person had gotten back up there, had climbed back up there with a key fob when the new guard that took over for the previous one came in, because I got a text message talking about how they heard a male voice upstairs and shouted back, "Hey, security, you don't belong up here. Go downstairs." So this was a bad situation overall. And if I haven't said it already, the Grand hid my review. This is how much of a shithole, because they're trying to make it look like, oh, everything's fine and dandy. And no, it's anything but. It's anything but. And I am not the only YouTubers had an issue with this damn property. I will show you who it is. So this is from December 2nd, 2021. This is last year. This is about 7 to 8 months ago. You actually had a YouTuber by the name of Grayson, and he's a professional baby gear expert. So anybody who follows him, he used to live at the Grand. He actually made videos about the Grand, and he lost like a good chunk of money in regards to his storage, his items and storage being destroyed. Because yeah, that's another thing. If you store with these people, they have a mice problem. Which is actually sometimes you can smell it, and it's really gross. He says, I love my apartment, says Jamie Grayson, a tenant who recently moved out of his unit at the Grand Apartments at 1777 Chestnut Place. I could not live there anymore. I don't blame him. The Grand is geared to affluent Denver residents. Monthly rents range from $1,500 to a studio of $8,000 for a penthouse. And I will say, because having been inside the apartments themselves, they're small as hell. I think people are stupid for paying that much for rent. But don't count on the killer city views to distract you from the skeletons in the closet. And that particular area at night is not good. Grayson, who works as a professional baby gear expert, had lived in both the south and north buildings before he moved out of the Grand in July after almost 3 years there. I lived all over and never seen a building like issues with this, says Grayson. The bulk of my issues happened in my last year. The building manager takes forever to get back to you. When she sees me in the lobby, she would just bury her face and walk to her office as quickly as she could. It's pretty horrendous. So I do believe it's Anna and Joanna. They sound like sisters. But one of them's the regional manager, one of them is the, I think, assistant manager? I don't remember. But yeah, this is another YouTuber who used to live there. Now, I've never lived there. I don't encourage people to live there, and I never will. And I never want to be with a security company that gets this freaking property because, oh my gosh, they have been trying to bury all of their issues. And as I said, they hid my review. I don't think they've ever had a security guard who used to patrol their property come forward and go, yeah, your property shit. You have security issues, which also caused a full-on security breach, which, by the way, anybody who's done security knows full well a situation can go from 1 to 100 pretty damn quick because you don't always know who you're dealing with. You don't know who always gets in when they're not supposed to. You don't know much of anything until you go and assess the situation. So, and like what I mentioned in that review, the Chestnut Pavilion. Oh my gosh, anybody who has been to the city of Denver, anybody who is familiar with Union Station and the Chestnut Pavilion will know that at night it gets bad. Now, granted, from what I have been told, I'm just repeating what I've been told, is that the Denver PD was not doing their job. So it was getting really, really fucking bad. Really bad. I would have people come right next to this other building and try to do drugs. I had one dude who was clearly on something, had a needle fall out of his bag, to which, because he was getting really hostile with me, because my uniform, I look like a cop, even though I was clearly marked security in 3 to 4 different spots in my uniform. Which to these people, they don't care. They don't give a shit. When someone is on drugs and they see a uniform, they instantly think up and they start to get hostile with you. So yeah, it got to a point where you would have druggies try to hang out on side of the building, if not by the dog park, at night. It was actually to the point to where I thought I had recorded video footage of this because I had my own body cam. I actually found a kid passed out next to the dog park gate, and I actually thought he was dead for half a minute because he was non-responsive and he was doing bad things and was passed out from doing said bad things. And he ended up being homeless, and it was not good. That entire area is not good. But the property itself, my supervisors, higher ups, let these post orders go into effect of us ignoring the concierge desk. And I don't know, and I don't think I want to know whether or not people knew key fobs went missing. Because, as I said, when you have the property like the Grand, that is accessed by key fobs, bike room, parking garage, elevator, a multitude of other things, And these key fobs were supposed to be for the tenants, any vendors, and construction, whatever. But when you have 10 key fobs suddenly go missing, and they weren't fucking deactivated yet, these things have been activated for a full fucking week, if not more. If not more. And you just have this property go, oh, well, we don't want our security companies doing our jobs because they're going to expose issues. And if they expose issues, it's going to make us look even worse, even though the Grand shot themselves in the foot. Because when a city makes you and forces you to do repairs on your own goddamn buildings, that is your own fucking fault. Now, let me also tell you a little story about the Grand, because anybody who has possibly visited there, especially the second building, and you had a friend let you use the parking garage, or you currently live there right now. That parking garage in the second building is fucking empty. Now, when I first came on with my previous security company, and I started to get scheduled there on and off, that parking, this was March, maybe March, can't quite remember, the parking garage was full. Now, when the city of Denver, because floor 23 was still full of tenants. Floor 22 was still full of tenants. I didn't even know floor 24 existed until I went there or was scheduled for the very first fire watch, and the only fire watch I covered. But regardless, those parking garages were full, which meant they had near full capacity of tenants, if not more. So, what had happened was when the city of Denver forced the Grand to start repairs, and because so many people had issues already with the Grand trying to get out of their lease, when they started to tell people, hey, we have to clear out floor 23, floor 22, possibly floor 21, because I think 21 is also empty right now, or was. You guys can all live in the second building, or we'll release you from your lease without any penalty. 70% of people said, bye. So this probably because you had a lot of people go out of there, and then I guess more people left out of the southern building because it's like, oh, you're letting people out of the lease? Okay, we're getting the fuck out of here too. Bye. So this is an example, and I want to talk about this because this is so important as a security guard, especially when you don't have a military background, when you don't have a police background, when you don't even have training in martial arts or hand-to-hand combat or something like myself. I'm not previous military. I'm not previous PD. I don't have a background in any type of fighting style, whether it be kickboxing, anything of the like. So for me, and for people like me who do not have this type of training or background, it is especially important, and even for those that do, to be aware. And I'm not telling you to get into your higher ups business, far from it, but you need to keep an eye on what type of post orders you have for those properties. Does it actually fully secure the building that you were stationed there for 8 to 12 hours a night, if not a day? Because I usually did graveyard at night, and it's especially important at night. What type of post orders do you have? Are they actually viable? Do they actually make sense, or do they put you in possible jeopardy? The previous security company I was under had established the new post orders where we no longer had access to the concierge desk. We couldn't even report on anything going on with it at the beginning of May. So the fact that this was even allowed, and this is when you can tell a security company is desperate to hold on to contracts, which my previous security company was. And I found out they were a former security company that I literally spent one night with and freaking ran from. Like, oh my god, like, this is so fucking bad. I'm out of here. So yes, my previous security company was rumored to be operating in the red. For those of you who do not know what that means, operating in the red is you are not working for profit. You are losing money as you are working. You are not gaining any finances. You are barely keeping your head above the water. And they showed with their vehicles, they showed with how they did things, because when I got moved to patroller slash roving, oh my god, it got so much worse. And it's not the staff, mind you. It was certain higher ups operations that told me they knew fuck all what they were doing. And it showed. It actually got way worse when I went into roving, because at first I'm like, dedicated, why would you let the contract go this way? We should have gotten pulled, and we should have just said, hey, F this, we're not going to be here anymore, particularly because the area, and because especially it was talked about how DPD wasn't doing their job, and they were supposed to be patrolling the Chestnut Pavilion along with Union. So, because of the area, because the individuals, it should have been, we're going to pull our guards out immediately. You have these post orders go into effect, or you force our contract terms to this, we are out right away. There is no 30 days for you. But because the previous security company did not have the finances and did not, again, rumored to be operated in the red, held on to the effing thing for the next 30 days to try to get that last paycheck or last service fee from the grant. So that is another sign that you are working for a bad security company. One thing also to keep in mind, and this does not tell the overall condition of the security company, but this lets you know whether or not they're making money or they're losing money. So the very first security company I worked for actually had nice cars and actually maintained them. Was very strict about maintaining them, and I only had to, as one of their guards, look for certain things on the vehicle, like outside damage, possible inside electronic issues with the car charger ports and things like that. So that security company maintained their stuff and was able to give out very nice equipment that you had to give back, which is understandable. Otherwise, the money comes out of your paycheck. A lot of money. But again, they could afford to provide their workers with various amounts of equipment, uniform, including pants, shirt, a form of tablet, a work belt, a pepper spray, a flashlight, kind of a good size one, and handcuffs. And a very nice body cam. As I talked in my videos, this security company actually had their hands on the Axon 3. So I was like, oh, and the Axon 2. I actually like that body cam. I miss that body cam. Anyway, so that's the first security company I worked for. But it was sheer chaos where it was too many contracts and not enough manpower. And it was a constant revolving door, and people are kind of forced to work like dogs over there. I did not appreciate that, the sheer amount of chaos. So I left. This previous security company, I did not get a good look at their security squads because I didn't visit the office that much, and I was on dedicated, so I would take my personal vehicle to the site I was supposed to patrol. So, but after one like the situation with the grant and then a previous one, I started just to kind of see, I'm like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. You really don't. And the fact that the contract was allowed to deteriorate to those terms and the 30 days exercise instead of pulling guards out there right away, because let me also tell you this. So another security company I interviewed for and I got hired at, when I ran the situation with the grant by this new security company, I got a wide-eyed look from my interviewer, and they're like, oh no, we need access to the concierge, to the security cameras. If it got to the point to where they told us we couldn't access us anymore, we'd freaking drop them. And this new security company has money. I've read a few bad reviews, but just so far, because I've seen their equipment, they take care of their stuff. So that is like I said, when you have a security company that maintains their vehicles, because it's not easy. Think of your car bills. Think that if you have one or two cars, are you able to jump on major repairs right away? If so, you have money. Or you're able to jump on those bills without landing underwater. And you're in a good spot to do so. So think of a security company, and they have, depending on how big they have about like maybe 8 to 9, 10 to 12 security squads that have to be properly decaled, maintained inside and out, light bar, extra lights, engine, all that wonderful hoopla, tires, diagnostics, all that stuff. And you have a company who, when they have money, you can tell because they have all 12 of these looking like they're brand new squads, and they've had these for a while. There might be like maybe one or two dings, maybe a slight scrape you would have to like closely look or eyeball for if you knew what you were looking for. But in the long run, they look fairly new. This is when you know a security company has money. Now, the next step, because as I said, with my very first security company, they had money. Now, what do their operations look like? What does their scheduling look like? These are things to look out for. As I said with my first security company, because it was too much work, too little manpower, where everybody started work 6 to 7 days in a row, very long hours, mind you, to where the supervisors were working 13 to 15 days a week. So, do they have enough manpower? Do they grab too much work? Is everybody beyond stressed out? Is everybody overworked? That is also not a security company, or a good security company. I don't care how nice their stuff is, but if everyone over there is overworked, that's not a good environment you want to be in either. Leave. So, you need to find a good security company if you are actually interested in this field. How does their equipment look? How do their contracts work? And you'll be able to tell by the post orders. Are you able to get involved and intervene in certain situations? And make sure, as I said, does the security company's SOP, standard operation of procedure, align with the law of the security guard for your state? Because I'm not claiming every single state has the same laws for security guards. As I said, it is an example for Colorado. For the most part, if we're dealing with a hostile individual, we are to remove ourselves and get away, because not every security guard has that same training. And security companies and the state wants to make sure, like, well, anybody can get into the security field. Unfortunately, a lot of security companies will hire anybody off the street. This is also not a good idea, but it happens. So the state of Colorado has created a law, like, if you're dealing with a hostile individual and you can get away, but here's the caveat. If you notice somebody else is in danger, and this is where I need you to listen very, very closely to me. This is because you cannot play hero. Being a security guard, you are not playing hero. You are not trying to scream and chase up. No. You are there to prevent crime and be a deterrent, because a lot of people, once they see that uniform, they will bugger right off, for the most part. And if you are in a situation where somebody else's life is getting threatened, you need to assess, evaluate, and can you actually de-escalate the situation? Like for me, I'm a very small female. So me trying to break up a physical fight between, say, 5 to 6 foot males, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's not. I'm not stupid. I have no physical training, even as a small person, to go in and people like, well, can you use pepper spray? No, because they're not attacking me. Would I be able to use a baton or a large flashlight to separate it? No, because once again, they're not attacking me. If they were and I couldn't get away, that'd be a whole different story. But no, that would be seen as excessive force. Now, there is, because I've talked about this before, the use of force flow chart. If you don't have hand-to-hand combat training, there's open tactics and closed ones, or open hand techniques and closed hand techniques. Those of you who in martial arts would know the big difference between those two. Then you can move on with compliant. But again, that usually falls into when you are dealing with someone who's being resistant, and that also deals a lot with police training. As a security guard, I don't have the legal authority to get in between 5 to 6 adult males because I don't have the training, I don't have the size or girth to freaking go in and do anything about it. The best I can do is get to a safe distance, make sure, like, can possibly film, videotape, get on the phone with police. So that's one situation where you really have to evaluate and assess, can you actually do something? Or are you going to make the situation 10 times worse by jumping in? For me, for a physical altercation like that, I would make the situation 10 times worse. And again, trying to pepper spray two individuals that big fighting, again, that's excessive force, and you're just going to get yourself into legal trouble. Now, if you have a situation, I'll use an example from a property I used to patrol. If you have a situation to where you have a male and female, and granted the male was my size, just a little bit smaller, and there's no weapons, there's nothing like that, and because he was intimidating his girlfriend, not letting her leave the corner. If you can go out safely after assessing, evaluating, and get them separated, because the guy was giving me lip, oh well, she can move, she can, no, she can't, you're being a physical barrier, move away. Then at that point, and it is your duty to get out and do something, but that's only if you can actually get out and do something. If not, call the police, describe the situation. If you have a body cam, by God, turn it on, make sure it is on. So you have to be smart, if not a little bit smarter when you're a security guard, especially when you don't have the same training as police or as military or any type of hand-to-hand combat physical training. That is very, very important. It is not a job if you take it seriously, and if you're with a good security company, and especially when you're with a bad one, it is not a job to where you can clown around. You do not beat people up. Even armed guards have, I think, stricter rules that they must follow. And as I said in my previous videos, I am unarmed. But you must be smart, especially if you're doing places like a downtown or a construction site or even a bad neighborhood. If you are scheduled to work in on-site at bad neighborhood or even patrol, because that's another thing I will say, and security guards cannot mimic police in their uniform and their colors, and everything must be okay by the city. On the car's decals, what color, certain types of blues. I'm not kidding. Like, the city of Denver is very picky as to how security companies can look, because we've actually had a few that have tried an NFPD. Not good. Anyway, so with all that being said, because this also tells if you have a good security, if you're working for a good security company too. Security companies, for the most part, will do their best to get as close to looking as a police officer, but they won't go out of their way to mimic one, if that makes sense. So when you have a good security company, and as I said, you can tell when they are able to maintain the cars, whether or not their squad cars look like shit or if they look like they're brand new, if not fairly new. Is their security company respected? Because this goes also back to the contracts. This also goes back to your post orders for said contracts for each property. And this is important for when you're patrolling too. But you can tell when you have a respected security company, and this is both respected by PMs and the tenants of said properties, or those who think they want to infiltrate said property, is when you turn around, when you come on site with that security car, do people stop and look at you? Now, I know this may sound like a weird thing, but hear me out. For those of you who have been in security, who have driven around, you know exactly what the hell I'm talking about when I say, if you have people stop and look at you when you're coming on property, just patrolling, doing your thing, and if you're in your squad car and they stop and they get the F out of the way, and you have your lights on and all that, you're not screaming, you're doing your job. When you have people stop and stare and depart, that is when you know you have a good security company, because, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to be very, very careful when saying this, is some security companies do look intimidated and intimidating, and actually you want that. The first security company I worked for, their squad cars looked intimidating. Now the actual models of the cars themselves, some of them, putting that up against, say, like a street racer, a muscle car, no. But because the way that they looked and because the way that they were maintained did make them look intimidating, and especially when we had a light bar and we came around the corner, and it's just like, oh crap, security's here. So some people actually enjoyed seeing it. It's like, oh, hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for patrolling. We're actually noticing less problems. So that is when you know you were working for a respected security company. And I will say, even though with the sheer amount of just freaking chaos from this former security company that I used to work for, they were respected by both people who did not want us around because they wanted to do nefarious stuff on property, or by people who, hey, security's here. Thanks for patrolling because we actually see your guys' work have an effect all around the property or the premises. So that is when you know you are working for a good security company. That is very, very important because if you're working for a security company and your squad looks like shit, and you can tell when it's shit, and you come around the corner and people don't give a shit that you're on site, it means you're not taken very seriously. And I can't stress enough, that is a weird thing to say, very weird. But it is very important because the way that people respond to you as a security company when you're in that uniform, when you come around the corner in your car, your squad car, your company squad car, that is a good indication whether or not these people take you seriously or not. So, and I know this video has gone on long enough, but I really felt this was important to talk about because not a lot of people know how to differentiate between a good security company and a bad one, and I am learning what makes a good security company and a bad one. And just to kind of summarize this all up, because I did use the property of the grand, they did move my review. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this because I am not the only YouTuber who has freaking issues. Granted, I was a security guard. Jamie was an actual tenant. So I wonder how many other people who are influencers have lived over there. Hopefully not much. But what makes a bad security company, and again, you have to learn how to discern this for yourself, but from my experience, you want to first look at their equipment. If that first indicator is past, like, okay, they have good equipment, they maintain their cars, what do their contracts look like? What do their post orders look like? Their hours. You'll be able to tell, like I said, my first security company I worked for, overloaded. Overloaded with work, not enough manpower, their bottom kept falling out, pretty much meaning they kept having people quit or not show up, and too many contracts, not enough workers, so it caused everybody to overwork. Not a good balance, not a good security company. Two, my previous security company, the second one, bad cars. I actually kind of ignored this red flag because I was doing dedicates. I'm like, okay, that doesn't matter to me too much, but in the long run, it was a big fucking red flag that I ignored. Equipment was not good. Their uniforms look nice, but their cars were shit. You can have really nice uniforms and still have your squad cars like dog crap. Their contracts were garbage. And at first, the properties I worked for and dedicated were fine. I didn't have an issue with, outside of from one, because one of the tenant, it was a business area, and the tenants was just a freaking jackhole. Because again, this is the same mentality. Oh, well, everything is a-okay and fun all the time, and how dare you bring issues to my forefront? So yeah, when you work security, you're going to find a lot of shithead property managers operate like this, and no, just fucking no. But I started to learn that their contracts were not good. The post orders for said contracts were not good. Does the security company, because this was not a red flag I had with my first security company I worked for, but this is a red flag I had with my second one. Do the post orders for your property put you in a compromising position where it's damned if you do, damned if you don't? This was the issue with the Grand. It was damned if we do, damned if we don't. So if we do pay attention to the full building like we're supposed to, as security guards, we're going to get in trouble and possibly yelled at or written up. Damned if we don't, which a lot of people did, damned if we don't. We're going to have possible security issues, which we did, and I had to personally fucking deal with them. Because they happened over the 2 weekends that I was scheduled over there. So that is signs of a bad security company. A good security company, from what I have learned, do they maintain their equipment? Yes. Are their hours stable, meaning you're not getting overworked from weeks on end? Yes. Are the post orders viable? Do they actually keep you and the property safe? Yes. Management also too. Does management know what the F they're doing? Because this is the first security company for the most part. Yes, they because of the experiences they had, they knew what to look for, and they did not put up with BS from the PMs for the most part. Security company too. No, nobody knew what the F they were doing. Minus very few people, but they were not in places of management, and they used to be, but they're like, you people don't listen, so I don't want to be a manager anymore. And I found out with as I said before, my previous security company, my second one, I found out they were a former security company that I freaking ran away from, which was so much worse. So does management actually know what they do, and do they understand the law of the security guard? What is their previous background? And it's not, do they actually have police background? Do they have, I wouldn't say military, but that doesn't mean you know what the F you're doing as a security company, because this is the security company I lasted one night on and I literally fled from because it was that bad. The owner apparently was military, but still had fuck all knew what he was doing. So that one's kind of a mixed bag. But yeah, biggest thing is management know what they're doing. Do they get you in trouble for actually acting like a guard? If not, you're in good company. Do they understand the law of the security guard? Like with what you are and are not allowed to carry? If so, you're in good company. You're at a good company. And there's always going to be bullshit with every security company you go to, but the amount of bullshit, if the cons outweigh the pros, leave. And I'm not talking about nitpicky stuff. Oh, this uniform looks dweeby, or no, or their car models that they drive, it just looks dweeby. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's stupid. Stupid to leave a company over. But as I said, their equipment, their hours, their contracts, the post orders for those properties. Are you going to get in trouble for actually acting within the law of the security guard of your state? So these are very, very important things. And most importantly, because this will either make or break your company, do the managers know what the fuck they're doing? And you'll be able to tell. My previous security company, my second one, no, no. And are they desperate for money, or do they have money? Again, you'll be able to tell right off or right away going off of their equipment, their cars. And so if you want to go into the security field, I advise you, I encourage you, and if you do not see their cars parked out in front, I will encourage you to ask the interviewer, hey, can I see what your squad cars look like? Now they may look at you funny. It's like, well, why? Why do you want to do that? You're not even working here. And to that, I would say tell them, like, because that's going to tell me whether or not you guys are able to maintain your stuff. And if they tell you no, at that point you have to decide whether or not to continue the interview. This is very, very important. And this is a flag I have learned, or an indicator I have learned, whether or not that is a good security company to shepherd. That is the first one you want to look for. So with that being said, I'm going to end it here, and you guys have a good one.